that November 21st, 2025. So let's do this as you get ready for the pre-holiday weekend. Thanksgiving is next Thursday. Guys got a lot to do, I know, maybe some shopping. Going to do a little weekend review, and then we're going to be bringing on someone who's going to teach you a lot for all you teachers out there. Well, I wish I had read his books prior to me being a sub. Michael Linsin's going to be on. He's got smartclassroommanagement.com. We'll get to that. He's coming on 11 o'clock. But let me give you a little weekend review. I did 3 shows this week. All right. What do we do? So the last show was Wednesday. We'll start with that. It was all about caregivers. Caregivers do a wonderful job, and everyone will need a caregiver in their lifetime. Gave a shout out to First Lady Rosalind Carter. You guys know that. We also talked about proper gym etiquette. Hope I wasn't too beating you up too much for those who are leaving the locker room doors on. And I read the Gettysburg Address. Yeah, pretty cool thing. 162-year anniversary. Abraham Lincoln, 16th president, did a great thing, trying to get the Civil War understood. And the Soldiers Cemetery in Gettysburg, we know that, Pennsylvania. So here we go. What did we talk about the day before that? All right, that was on Wednesday. What did we do on Tuesday? Remember this? The 50 rules of badassery. These are my top 50 rules of badassery, exploring themes of personal growth, how to stay positive, and belief that the universe has your back. No doubt the universe does have your back. I'm looking over here. What are my top 5, right? I did point them out. Number 10 was trust your instincts. Always have to trust your instincts, right? I like that one a lot. This is another one. Live your dreams was number 20. So number 10, trust your instincts. Number 20 was live your dreams. You definitely have to live your dreams. What else did I like? Oh, I love this one here. Lead by examples, number 45. Do it your way is number 47. And the last, well, we didn't say the last one, but the last one, fail with enthusiasm, was number 48. And number 50, knowing and believing, because to be a badass, you truly have to know it. You truly have to believe it. As a teacher who's handling an unruly classroom, which I had to do many, many times in my 600 plus days of subbing. Guys, you know that. So that's what we did on Tuesday. And what do we talk about on Monday? You see, I did those 3 shows. Monday, I did a movie review. We talked about Twins from 1988. Give a shout out to Danny DeVito. He's turned 81 years old. Remember that? Him and Schwarzenegger. It was a comedy. I love that movie. And then talked about the new Running Man with Glenn Powell. Love Glenn Powell, but let me tell you, did not love that movie. Like the original from 1987, which Schwarzenegger was a hell of a lot better, I thought. And we also talked about good news with obesity rates, right? Falling to 37%, down from 40% 3 years ago. And I talked about the solution about weight loss. What's the solution? Eat to lose, i.e. eat less. I also did the 12 common myths about health foods because, well, you know, healthy foods, everybody believes all these things about healthy foods, but we debunk them. I read that in an article. It's like you could eat cake, you could eat cookies. The key is you got to eat less of it. All right, so that's a little quick review. I'm going to bring Michael on in a second here, but before I do that, let me talk a little bit about this gentleman who's coming on. Really looking forward to it because I was doing some research. I'm thinking, who could I bring on? Talk about education, talk about the things that really I struggled with as a sub. I would say 90% of the time, it's about classroom management. You know how challenging that is, how impossible that is as a sub. You don't know the kids, they don't respect you. It was rough, these inner city markets that I taught. So that's what we're going to talk about today is how to transform the American public school education, right? He's a best-selling author, teacher, and founder of Smart Classroom Management. It's Michael Linsin. I'm going to say hello to him in a second. Now, Michael taught every grade K through 12. I taught every grade K through 12. Loved kindergarten. You guys know that. And I also taught pre-K. Well, that's like babysitting for little kids. But he did 33 years, and he's written 8 best-selling books. Let me talk about this because these are every book you should read as a teacher, I think, especially a new teacher. He's got credentials in elementary education, English, drama and dance. I'm going to ask him about that. Physical education, phys ed. And he has advanced degrees in educational counseling. That's key because all these kids, so many kids I taught needed counseling. And he advises school leaders and administrators. All right. I took a look at his YouTube channel. He's got a YouTube channel. Again, Smart Classroom Management. And I watched a couple of these, really good. I mean, let me tell you about the books, all right? So, first book, well, there's 8 books. I'm not sure if this is the exact order he put them out, but it's called The Happy Teacher Habits. That's pretty cool because you want teachers to be happy. Number 2 was The Classroom Management Secret. What's the secret to classroom management? Keeping everything copacetic. Number 3rd book I have here is Classroom Management for Art, Music, and PE Teachers. Let me tell you, I taught art, taught music, taught PE. I taught 70 kids one time PE. That was rough. Outside, I had 70 kids running wild. That was really that that was impossible to contain. Middle school, can you believe it? I did not like teaching middle school. Number 4 book he wrote is called Inspire, the principles that transform student behavior and learning. Because that's the key. You want to, I think, transform the behavior from bad to good, you call them the bad apples, into learning. Number 5, he has Unstressed, how to teach without worry, fear, and anxiety. Let me tell you something. In my book, you guys know the subtitles. Oh, here you are now, Michael. Hey guys, say hello to Michael Linsin.
How you doing?
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for joining me today. I was just going through the rest of your books here because you got 8 books. I've just reading them off. Let me finish with this. The 6th one is called Total Classroom Management Makeover. And I was saying, in my 5 years of subbing, I taught over 600 days in maybe 60 different schools. I needed to read all these 8 books. Let me tell you. All right, this one here is called the Smart Classroom Management Way and Dream Class was the 8th one. So, Michael, you got tremendous experience. And when I was watching your videos, what I learned is the key word is knowledge. So let's talk about that because how does one really be a good classroom manager? Which I'll be honest, I was not. But what do you think?
Well, I think it's really confusing because as a typical teacher will get in the classroom, start struggling with behaviors, and then Google classroom management, Google strategies that they can use. Maybe they talk to other teachers, and what they do is they pull from different resources, and
Mhm.
they try different things. And what happens is a lot of times these strategies um, they they block each other
Mm,
off, or they make each of them weaker. And what happens is it makes the misbehavior worse.
mm,
And so it's really important for teachers um, to really come from and learn one school or one method of classroom management. And at Smart Classroom Management, we offer one such model.
right. Because I guess it can be confusing because, right, you're starting to implement one and then you're thinking that's not working. You're jumping to another. As a teacher, I know what it's like. And you also do one on one coaching. I saw that, right, for teachers that are really struggling. And I like this. You have a plan for high school teachers and a plan for elementary school teachers. So, talk about the difference. I taught all grades K through 12. I always say I loved kindergarten mostly because there was another teacher in the room and the kids are always excited, it's their first time there. But how do you differentiate between high school and then element? Do you put middle school with elementary, by the way? Where does that fit?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, middle school, there's a transition around seventh grade, seventh
Mm,
to eighth grade, and it's kind of up to the teacher. And when they look at the two plans, what feels right for them in their classroom, but they're very different. But there's a transition to the high school plan around around seventh grade.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And then you would say, because elementary, all right, from my experience, it's a lot different. When they get older, I mean, kids drop the F bomb. I remember one time, this is my early, I'd been teaching for like a week or two. And I remember this girl comes in, it was like maybe 10th or 11th grade. And it was like in the middle of the afternoon. And, I'm up there and all of a sudden she like walks in and just goes to a seat. And I'm like, excuse me, are you in my class? Like, first of all, I don't even know. She's like, yeah. I said, well, I just have a question. I said, it's not first period and it's not right after lunch. So, like, where were you? Like, these schools get locked down, right? In LA, there's like, I'm like, so where were you? And she's like, F you. I don't have to tell you nothing. And I'm like, holy, that's like the first time someone, I've heard it numerous times, but like, boom. I mean, now again, I'm a sub, it's like, so what would you say? How would you handle that?
Yeah, especially in this day and age, in the moment, there aren't magic strategies. So
Mm,
there isn't some
mm,
sort of magic wand that you can, or words that you can say, and they're going to be
right,
perfect in a
right,
situation like that. Um, in a tough environment, it's best just to kind of keep a lid on things and to remain calm. I would let her, if I was a sub, I'd let her sit in the classroom as long as she's you know, as long as she's well behaved and listening and such, then that
right,
would be
right,
fine with me.
right,
But really, it's what you do to prepare for it. That's
right,
that's the
right,
important part is setting up your classroom for success.
right, right. Well, I think what you're doing is you're providing great resources for teachers, because teachers, the exciting thing about being a teacher, I was there on the first day, I was there on the last day. And on the first day, it's really and then I read some of your blogs. You have over 100 blogs. Guys, go check out the site.
Eight hundred,
Oh,
Rich.
800. Oh, wow. Okay. I scrolled through 100, but
Yep,
the one in particular I liked, I like this, why you should never allow students to make up work. Uh,
yep,
yeah, you're basically setting, you have to set why you should never allow, you said why you should allow your students to socialize in class. I like that.
mm,
I used to do that. Why your classroom routines must be longer. This is a good one. What to say to a parent who resists your classroom management. Because right, everybody, their kids are prima donnas, or so they think, and right. So this is no, I like these blogs. Go, you could definitely just gather information. Why humor is definitely key, right? So
important, critical.
it's critical. It's very critical. And then how to get every student to participate. Well, as a sub, I mean, you probably didn't deal with. I don't know if you dealt with a lot of subs, or you've seen a lot of subs, right, in your lifetime. Um, we, it's very, it's much more difficult. You have no history with the student.
Yep.
Going back to some of these schools where I was there on the first day, it was exciting because, you were right there with the teachers and you did kind of get to know them like right out of the gate. Every kid's kind of at least open to saying, well, what's this all about, right? Getting to know you. But what would you say? So, what would you say to a teacher who's been doing it 10 years? So, for instance, I met a teacher once, she'd been 10 years and ninth grade, and she asked me to sub her class, and then we had a little side conversation. She's like, I'm going to quit. She goes, I just can't. It's gotten worse. I can't do it. She goes, 10 years ago I had 25-year plan. Now I can't do it. She goes, I can't control the situation. I said, yeah, what do you tell a teacher 10 years in who's sort of kind of burned out versus a newbie who really, I mean, all knowledge is good, right, for what you're providing.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say that they need to learn a new set of skills because it really isn't just because what it is she's been there 10 years and has been struggling for 10 years.
Right.
That's the reason why she's burned out. And that recent video you saw that classroom management is knowledge based. It's really,
Right.
really true. It really is true. You're not born with this ability,
Right. Right.
and so you have to learn it. And yeah, and
Right.
it's simple, but there's a lot to learn. And so just a couple of weeks in a cave, you'd be
Mhm.
I think, pretty well prepared. And so
Right.
I would say to just she needs to start over from scratch, learn the knowledge, and then begin anew with her
Right.
new plan. Yeah.
Right. Right. A new plan. So let's talk about this, the happy teacher habit. Again, I wasn't sure what order you put these out, but what are some happy teacher habits that you can sort of throw out there?
Yeah, I would say, well, there are quite a few, but to say no, I think is
Oh,
really important for teachers. We are people pleasers generally,
right.
and we're givers, and we're asked to do a lot.
Right.
And I think that we have to say no more often, no to extra committees, no to even gossiping, no sometimes to the
Mm,
teachers lounge in order to be more efficient in our work,
right.
which makes us happier.
Right.
When we're prepared and we're ready for those kids, I think we're more effective teachers.
Oh, I like that. Just say no. And you're right about the gossip because I would go, as a sub, you didn't really know anybody, but occasionally you'd go
Yeah.
into the room and and I'd be like, throwing my hands up and I would say, well, I'm teaching second grade. They're like, oh, and I said, there's this little kid. And they're like, oh, you have him?
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately they have a million stories. And I'm like, don't scare me anybody. I got to go back.
Yeah, that and the other thing is that you don't want to pollute your brain with this us against them sort of mentality.
Right.
And so when you look at your students and you dislike them or dislike any individual
Mm,
student, they're going to know it. That's
right.
something you can't hide. And when there's animosity between you and your students, and there's dislike between you and your students, you're going to struggle more. Misbehavior is going to go up, and you're going to have a much more stressful time at it.
Sure, sure. Yes. Speaking of stress, let's talk about this book, Unstressed: How to Teach Without Worry, Fear, or Anxiety. Give me a little jewel there.
Well, it all begins and ends with smart classroom management or
Right,
classroom management. Being effective as that
right.
is the most important thing. But the book is all about things like getting to work early in the morning, getting to school
Mm,
earlier rather than staying later. You just get a lot more done. You're more focused. Your brain works
right,
better,
right.
and then there's less distractions. Also, getting there earlier, and then making sure that you leave at the end of the day. Give yourself a deadline to leave because you have to get away from
Cool.
teaching. You absolutely have to get away from it. Have a hobby, something you enjoy, even if it's being a scorekeeper at your
Mm,
son or daughter's soccer
right, right,
team or game. But you have to mentally every single day get away
right,
from it.
right, right. I always looked at it like in my book, I make a reference to I taught in the restaurant and bar business, right? And I don't know if you ever did, but when you go in, it's like turning the light switch on. Like as soon as you clock in, like prior to clocking in, yeah, people usually smoke their cigarettes, but as soon as you clock in, the switch goes on and you're just, until and then you turn the switch off. It's like as soon as I clock out, put in my tips, it's like I have no memory. So as a sub, I would get there a half an hour early because I always needed to know where the bathrooms were. You had to
Mm.
familiarize yourself. And then I would walk around the entire school just so I got a feel. And then you're right. The teachers that were there early, and that always made a difference to me. When I went in a classroom and it was totally disarray, I would get a knot in my stomach. Oh no, this
Mm.
is going to be a mess. Whereas the teachers there early, I would go in, say hello. They say, "Oh, if you need anything, come see me. Who are you teaching?" Oh my God, they were like the happier ones. Except the one getting there late and then they're behind the eight ball.
Yep.
It's so true. It's so true. All right, what about this? The classroom management secret. I mean, you wrote a whole book about the secret. Is
Yeah.
that all like about harmony? I mean, what is
No,
it?
no, the actual secret is, and this is the only thing I had when I was first beginning my career. I taught for 33 years. In my first year,
Wow.
the only thing I had was that I wanted the students to love me in the classroom,
Right.
and I was going to hold them strictly accountable.
Mm,
And
mm,
that's it. And that's the secret, and
right.
the really basis for all classroom management and effective classroom management. And for what we do at Smart Classroom Management is the secret is creating a classroom the students enjoy being part of, want to be part of, and then holding them strictly accountable for the behaviors
Right.
that protect that enjoyment of the classroom.
Right. No, it's so true. There's a lot of non-accountability now. What about
Oh gosh,
fix
yes.
what about fixing up? Because this is always I got a kick out of this when I go into a classroom and the walls, like a history teacher. I loved when I saw, I was like, wow. And most of the best classrooms I taught, they had the students do what was on the walls. Like, they would do something about the American Revolution, the other kid about the Civil War. Did you do that? Were you a lot of classrooms there was like nothing on the walls? It was like, whoa. But what was your style?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think as much as anything and everything students can do, they should be doing. And
Right.
so good, effective teachers shift as much responsibility as possible onto the
Mm,
students' shoulders for listening, learning, behaving, and doing the work. So I
right.
love that. I love that you show work in the classroom. I think that shows
Yeah.
a classroom that's productive,
Right.
happy, doing the work. I think that's all great.
Yeah. Exactly. Productive, happy. I see here you had drama and dance. Tell me a little bit about that. Were you a dancer yourself? Like, you
Not
taught?
really. That's
No. Oh, did you teach
that's
like acting class? What did you teach?
no, that's part of the credential. But I did
Oh,
as a PE teacher have to teach some dance. So like the electric slide and
right.
it's those kinds of things. The kind of stuff that you feel comfortable doing with kids, but never in your right mind do in front of your friends or family or anything like that.
Right, right, right. Well, nowadays, I remember when this was like I taught the COVID era, right? And I taught this
Mhm.
one school, high school in LA. It's actually a pretty good school. And then I could not, it was like a dance class. And all I know is it was TikTok, right? I didn't even know what TikTok was. And they
Yeah.
would do the thing. I'm like, girls, what are you doing with the phone? What is up with the phone thing? Because the teacher did, there was no work. And they're like, they just had to practice. But they were like, and they were doing together, and they're like, Mister, you don't know what TikTok is? I'm like, I heard of it. This was like when it first came out. And one girl was like popular, and I'm like, what the heck? And it was like, they had to do the dance. I mean, was that in your era? Or you like TikTok
Yeah,
dancing?
yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's we absolutely don't want kids, with their phones out doing TikTok dances in class or
Oh,
anything like that. And for me, the idea that we would kind of use that as part of their instruction, I don't think is
no, no, no.
I don't think it's a
Couldn't
good
do that.
idea. But I think it's
No,
great that LA Unified outlawed phones. I think that's a great.
yeah,
That's a
well, they did, but let me tell you, that was a tricky thing. I'll never, when you're a teacher, right? Some of them had, I mean, there was all sorts of things. There was something on a board where you had to put your phone in it, but they were just, they couldn't let go of their phones. And so what
Mhm.
I end up saying was, I came up with the strategy because as a sub, it's like nearly impossible. I would say 80% of the time, nobody left work. So it's like, have them continue what they're doing. I don't even know what they're doing. So it's like, I would love when a teacher, there was this one history teacher in East LA. I love this guy because he would leave me work to teach. He's like, teach him something about the Italian Renaissance. And he'd like have a video. I love this style. He'd have like a 7-minute video. And then there'd be like 5 questions after the video, and I would watch it with them, and I would I was like, okay. And I would always make sure everybody got the 5 questions right. But I end up doing it this. I would hold up my phone and I would say, hey, listen up, everybody. This is not a phone. This is research. When Mr. T says you could do research, I go, but you got to give me 20 minutes. There were 80-minute block classes there. It's like a long time. I said, just give me 20 minutes and then we'll do research. I said, but you got to work with me. I said, it can't be. And then I said, but there's one rule. You cannot make a video of me. I don't want to be looking like the idiot teacher. Plus, I like this school, so I had to, you had to kind of negotiate with these kids. But I'll tell you, it worked every time because I said, just give me 20 minutes and I promise you could and they loved it because they're like, oh, you're so cool, mister. And everybody else trying to like can't stop them from using their phone. That was like nearly impossible. Plus, they told you, they said, my teacher training, do not touch a kid's phone. If you touch a phone and the phone breaks, you're responsible for. I'm like, these are $500 phones.
Yeah.
So we're like, I'm not taking a kid's phone. I've seen videos of students fight teachers over their phone.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
But were you around when the phone, you're teaching
Oh
when
yeah,
the, oh, yeah.
of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about this?
Go ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, no,
Sorry.
no. I wanted to jump in. Yeah, we can talk about so many things, but this one here, I love this one here. Inspire the principles that transform student behavior and learning. Because again, as a sub, you're there the one day. How do you? And I'll give you some of the things that worked for me. But how did you transform? What is the key to that book?
Yeah, well, everything again begins and ends with classroom management. And so that's
Right.
first, because if you're standing in front of your classroom and you're talking over your students, then all hope is lost. If they're talking and they can't be quiet enough
Right.
just for you to talk, then it's hard to inspire your students. And so
Right.
it's really about good, and much of that book is about how to present lessons
Mm.
that kids like and are interested in. And so there are a lot of tricks and tips in there about exactly how to do that.
Right, right. Like that, like that. And then how about this? You got, well, total classroom management makeover. I mean, that
Mhm.
one's got to be like the 10-year teacher who just needs a
Mhm.
makeover. Is that?
Hmm. Yeah, what I discovered, there's so many articles on the Smart Classroom Management website, and then the books are all the books are they're great, but there are a lot of strategies there. And so I kept getting the question, what do I do? How do I like start from the very beginning?
Mm,
What do I do if I'm in the middle of the school year and I'm really, really struggling? So what I did is I put myself in the shoes of a teacher. Like if I were to take over a class mid-year and it was completely out of control, what would I
right,
do?
right,
And so
right,
that book is a set of 18, just step by step. Do this, don't do this, do this, remove this, and that's it. And you follow it along, and then it
mm,
leads you to
mm,
a well-behaved classroom as long as you follow through. So it's the
right.
knowledge, but then you've got to follow through with it.
It's always about following through. And then you got the smart classroom management way. I guess that's sort of your whole strategy. Is that a book about, or?
It is, but it's really the best of those 800
Oh,
articles. It's the very best of those of that blog of those blog posts, and
I
it
like that.
fills up sort of every sort of area of smart classroom management, like routines
Right.
and how to speak to students, difficult students, and all those things are all in that book.
Right. And then the last one's a dream class we covered. What's a dream class? What do you consider a dream? I mean, I've taught dream classes, but what do you consider? Very few, but what's a dream class?
Yeah, the students love being there, excited to
Right.
be there.
Right.
Love the teacher and by extension, learning in the classroom.
Right. So in your experience, do you think there's so I have some friends that I grew up with back in the day who were teachers for like 30 years, right? But they were in good, I would say good school districts. And the one teacher who read my book, he was like, "Oh, he's like, I relate, I love it." He goes, "But in our class," he goes, "there's always like one or two kids that it's easier to I've had where it's like five kids want to
Mhm.
beat up somebody else. It's like I've had situations where it was more than one. It was never one. So what's your take on, one versus a whole mob of them? I mean,
Yeah.
have you had both situations?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But nowadays though, it's everywhere. I mean,
Mm,
it's
mm,
I speak to teachers a lot every week,
really?
and so they're really struggling, and behavior has really dropped since COVID
Mm,
everywhere, even in the traditional, kind of the schools that you wouldn't associate with that.
right.
But yeah, certainly, the challenge isn't as great with one student as opposed to five, but it's the extreme behaviors.
Mm,
So that one student isn't just, calling out in class, they're throwing things or,
mm.
attacking other students and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I've had desks flipped at me.
Oh
Kid
yeah.
threw a book at me one time, missed me. I had kid pour water over my head one time, came up behind me. I've
Sorry, I don't
seen
mean to laugh, but yes.
no, no, I'm telling you, that's why what I did is I did like a chronological, started with kindergarten all the way up through high school. Then there was alternative high schools that I taught at as
Oh
well.
yeah.
So here's the biggest challenge. So what do you do about this? Because this happened a lot to me, and it happened mostly with 9th through 12th. Okay, where they, nowadays with the phone, right? There's a sub, so it's like whoosh, all of a sudden everybody knows there's a sub. So,
Mhm.
and there's like 36 kids in a class I'm teaching, and all these different names. So next thing you know, I have like 5 kids that are not supposed to be in my class that are in my class, and when I call a name, they say here. Because how
Mhm.
do I know who Jose is? I don't know who the.
Mhm.
So what do you do about? And then this is what else would happen. So the first thing is kids would just start the class not in my class, and then about 20 minutes in, a kid will just get up and leave, like
Mhm.
because he's he's a kid who's not supposed to be there, and I'm like, where's he going? I go, where you going? They leave, and then all of a sudden, some other kid, it's like a revolving door, and this was a challenge,
Mhm.
and well, let me tell you let me ask you your thoughts, and I'll tell you
Yeah.
how I dealt with it. I kind of
All
come
right.
up with my own strategy. What do you do with
Oh,
that?
yeah, I was gonna say, as a sub, I think you absolutely need to introduce yourself to, if it's your first time at the school, to the principal or administrator, that is, responsible for those students, or even the office manager, and then make sure you have a way to contact them just in case.
Mm,
And I think just to let them know, it's
right.
not necessarily that you're calling them down to do anything, but to protect yourself. I
Right.
would certainly say, hey, I've got kids coming in and out of here who aren't in this classroom, just to give that
Right.
information, just to kind of document it that you've
Right.
done that. How they handle it is
Right.
up to them, but your primary responsibility is safety. And so if
Right.
that's the school that you're at where kids are coming in and out and
Mm,
wandering around, you don't want to like try to fight the kids and make a big
right.
deal or anything like that, because you really you really want to, make sure they're safe and you're
Right.
safe.
Right. I talk about that. The last few chapters, I give solutions. What I see as solution. Again, I was an outsider, right? And I talk about an outsider's view inside America's troubled educational system, right? I
Mhm.
taught at this one school. It was an alternative high school. So this is where all the bad kids went, right? And I remember I went and I met with the principal, sat down. I did exactly. I always tried. Most of the time, you can't. It's like some schools, there's a desk and you come in and it's like chaos.
Uh,
There's like chaos. A big, some high schools in LA are 1,000 people. Chaos. They just, here's your, good luck. And I would always go to teachers next to me, across from me, because they always knew, right? And but the key is, you're right. If you could get to know the principal, to me, I've dealt with some of the best administrators. One I'm still friends with on Instagram, Val. I'm gonna give a shout out to Val. She was the best because I would just go to Val and I'm like, what do I? I'll take care of it. But so this principal, I kind of knew she was like selling me on this school. And this was in New Jersey where you did 40, it was a 40-day assignment type of thing. Now, nobody wanted those assignments, but they paid you $10,000 for 40 days. So, you kind of wanted them, but you didn't want them.
right.
So, anyway, she's trying to sell me. She's walking me around. She takes me in. Now, this classroom had 2 doors and it had a bathroom in the middle. And I'm like, I've never seen that before. No, I'm kidding. It was like, there were picnic tables in the back, desks in the front, a little hallway with a thing. And I'm like, what's up with that? I go, that. She's like, well, you can't let him go in the back. I'm like, well, how do I do that? If I'm up at the front of the room, what am I going to stand there in the middle of the room? And both doors have to be open. So you can't really lock the doors or fire thing. I'm like, I don't see how this is possible. She's like, well, here's the thing at this school. If you let kids in that aren't in your class, fights break out all the time. I'm like, how do I do? I lasted one day, Michael. I'm like, no, I told her after one day, I said, can't do it because it was not possible. All I know is within 20 minutes, the whole back, everybody was in. I was like, this is not good. All the
Mhm.
picnic tables and nobody was up front. So then what I did is I said, all right, and I pushed everybody from the front. You got to go in the back. Let's do it this way because they wanted to hang out in the back. So I said, all right, I'll hang out with you on the picnic tables. That's fine. And then, oh, can I use the bathroom? They'd stay in the bathroom for 20 minutes. I'd have to
Of
911.
course.
What are you doing in the? Oh, they were doing vaping.
Of
Oh yeah.
course.
Oh
Yep.
my God. So there was definitely major challenges, but I agree with you trying to get to know principals. But I'll be honest, as a sub, and
It's tough
especially
to
if
do.
it's
Yeah.
very tough to do. I had
I
this one principal one time in middle school. I had a challenge with middle school. Like you could negotiate with the older kids. You couldn't negotiate with these middles. I couldn't. And that's why I didn't do, I spent maybe 20, 30 days out of 600 in middle school. Right.
mhm.
And, so this one, what I would do is I would send them to the principal. That was like back in my day, they'd send you to the principal's office, right? So
Yeah.
when a kid starts punching, beating up another kid, I go, principal's, I'd call security, take him to the principal. So one
Mhm.
day I was there for like 3 days. The third day is a male principal. He goes, hey, Mr. T, come over here. He goes, I know you. He goes, do not send any more kids to my class. I go, well, what do I do with them when they're going crazy? He's like, that's called classroom management. I'm like, no, I'm not good at that. I go, not at this school. He got so mad. And guess what? I sent a kid down there. He brought the kid back. He brought the kid back himself. And he goes, this, I said, no, I'm telling you, this is the truth. I said, listen, it's either he stays and I go,
Yeah.
or he can't be in my class. I go, he's like, he should be detention. And there was no detention. They had
Mm.
no detention, no suspension, no detention. Well, you figure it out. I'm like, it was like, this where I was overwhelmed. And it's tough. There's some bad apple kids.
And there's nothing you can do in that situation either. With again, there's no magic wand. Especially if students are putting their hands on each other. I mean, you have an
Oh,
obligation,
oh
to
yeah.
protect yourself to send
Right.
them to the principal. So yeah, unfortunately, there are too many schools
Mhm.
like that,
Right.
administrators like that, and really difficult to sub and
What about
survive.
fights? Let me tell you. So in LA, it was this. It was the closest teacher was supposed to break up the fight. And I've been near fights where teachers would run. Like I would be walking out. It's usually happened in LA. There wasn't a lot of fights, I will say. They kind of maybe at the end there were some shootings and guns and stuff, but I didn't see a lot of fights. There
Mhm,
was a few, and then teachers would run. And luckily, I was never the closest teacher. But you'd
mhm,
have to break them up because they said it was good. The one, my kind of mentor said, how would you feel if you were the parent of the student getting pummeled? Like, you got to put yourself in their shoes. They want you to break up the fight. But in
mhm,
New Jersey, you weren't allowed to you couldn't break up a fight. You couldn't even put a finger, and I'd have to watch. I bet I was at schools. I couldn't watch girls fight. That was like my thing. I like,
mhm.
guys go at it. It usually ends. Girls, it's like breaks out quick, and I would just get like, oh my god. And what could you do? You couldn't break them up. Like, what do you do? Because I
Yeah,
would.
yeah, you have to call for help, 100%. You have to have a way to do that. You have to know
Right,
how to do that.
right,
Even if it's a student, and this is something you prepare ahead of time, even if it's a trusted student, a senior, someone, a TA that you say, go get Mr. Whatever. Because if you jump in and break up a fight,
mm,
some of those kids will feel like you're putting your hands on them and they'll turn on you.
right,
Other kids will jump in.
right,
And so you can't do that unless you have
right,
help for
right,
sure. And so
right,
I was always had a system of people to
right,
call, security on campus, that
right.
sort of thing. But your best bet is to keep everyone safe and away from it, because two kids fighting is one thing. 20 kids
Yeah.
fighting is another.
Right. That's what I saw at the high school level. You're right. I would get to know the head security, and I always felt more comfortable with the bigger kids and the boys. You're right. Sometimes they would
Mhm.
jump in. When I was teaching element, I saw, elementary and middle school girls. I That was where there was no security. Be one person sitting at the front door, or you're like,
Mm,
oh my
yeah.
God, a million miles away. So no, I've had some situations. So here's one for you. So I taught at this one school, and it was 1,000 kids at this school, right? And most teachers teach like 100 kids. So I got to know. I taught for 40 days. It was a New Jersey school. So I got lucky because I got to teach like every kid. So like literally 1,000 kids knew me, whereas the teacher only knew 100 kids. They'd see him pass by. So it
Mm,
was interesting. I became this like kind of almost like an enigma at this school, right? So everybody got to know me. And it was also a school where I couldn't stop them from, it was like ninth or 10th grade, couldn't stop them from coming in. They were just, but I kind of knew who the troublemakers were, right? So there was this one kid. He was definitely a gang leader, right? And I telling you this, and I knew as soon as I had him in my class, I went up to him. I took him outside. I go, here, come here. You come with me. And we went outside. I go, okay, I'm going to make you a deal. I said, I'm going to make you a deal. I said, you could bring anybody you want in my class. I go, but the minute there's trouble, you need to break up the trouble for me because this is a rough class. No kidding. I made a deal with this kid because, he's got a couple friends, girls, guys, whatever. It wasn't like a lot. I said just a couple. And then I did another thing. I called them all fugitives, the ones that came in that didn't belong. I go, here's how it works in my class. I know there's fugitives in my class. I go, so here's the way it works. I said, if one person, one fugitive causes a problem, you all leave. So we're a team. And sometimes teachers would say, is there a kid in your class? I go, I'll keep him if you want. She's like, yeah, you can keep him. Because they knew he was a troublemaker. But in my class,
he's
he was
doing
like, I was the cool guy because I knew 1,000 kids. So they're like, he's the cool guy. So I
yeah.
got the reputation because they were in the halls. They were be smoking weed in the halls
Mm,
at his school because the
yeah.
cameras, they knew where the camera, it was unbelievable. And I'm like, but I worked the deal. And I'm tell you what, the last day, because I said it was my last, the kid came up to me, high five, and he kind of like, he said, Mister, you're like the coolest guy. I'm like, yeah, thanks. But I kept the peace by making
Yeah.
good with the guy who was like, you didn't give him any trouble, this guy. And the minute, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. In a situation like that, you're like, yeah, they're safe here.
Right.
They're not creating any trouble. I'm going to teach them up. Whoever shows up, take on all comers, kind of thing. And so that's
Oh yeah. And
that's
I was
awesome. I love it.
and,
I love that
and I was
story.
teaching them like about bank, like anybody here have a bank account? Nobody. Anybody know what interest is? Do you know how a credit card? Yeah, mister, I just swiped the card. I'm like, no. You have to pay interest on that. I go, here's how it works. If I give you $1 today, you got to give me $1.20 back tomorrow. So, I said, imagine that. You got to give somebody 20 cents. You do that 10 times. Now you give me $10. I could give $2. It's like that's so what you don't want to do that. I go, you don't want to do that because you're going to owe a lot more money. So they were like, So I would come up with these, just let's talk about interest today. Does anybody know how the government works? You know the difference between the Senate and the House of Representatives? No, mister. Most of these kids, I taught kids, no kidding, that in one place, there was one movie theater in the town. And one day these girls were all hanging around. I'm like, so girls, what do you do on the weekends? You guys like go to the movies? They're like, what movies? I'm like, you don't know where the movie theater? No, it was like 2 miles away. Some of these schools, they just stay within like a two
Mm,
square block area.
yeah.
And that's why in my book, what I talk about is the solution is it's not a one size fits all. Like I always had a challenge with the curriculum
Mm,
because I would have to teach things like the periodic table. That always like blew my mind where the kids have to learn. I'm like, this is so I couldn't remember. I said, kids, all you have to do is remember water's H2O. The rest of it, it's almost like I don't understand why they even teach that nowadays.
Yeah, especially because the reading and math scores are so profoundly low that we're spending so much time on things that are nice, but they should they should know how to read and write first, and then we can go into those things. And of course, you
Wow.
can teach them at the, at the same time, and but the really the focus is should be on those good communication skills.
I think so. And I think the world's changed. I mean, you could be an entrepreneur on Instagram and make a killing versus, teaching a kid who's not leaving the neighborhood. I taught a class in LA, East LA. It was exactly 5 miles. I told this story before. It's 5 miles. You could see the tops of downtown from
Mm.
their school. I said, so raise your seniors. Again, 36 kids. I said, raise your hand if you've ever been downtown. 2 kids raise their hand. I'm like, wait a minute.
Mhm.
The rest of you, yeah, why? They're like, why, mister? I'm like, well, because you can work there, you could live there, you could dream. Like kids, you gotta do this. I told them, I said, and they take the bus for free. Kids take the bus for free in LA. So I told them, I said, get on the 61 bus. And I took the bus to that school because I didn't want to park. I had to park on the street. So I said, get on. You see me. You see that bus? Take that bus to the very end. There's called the Last Bookstore. You could buy a book for $1. I said, if you don't have $1, don't tell him Mr. T will come pay him. I go, I'll take care of it. Like you don't need any money. Walk around. You'll take a look at it. It's a different world than
Mhm.
East LA was like. It was a very underground economy. Yeah.
Yeah, I taught close to there and would take kids to the mountains. The Mount Baldy is
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
there. Mount Baldy's up there, and then take them down to the beach in Orange County. And most of these kids had never been to either one, and they were, within 30, 40 minutes of the
Right.
beach and the mountains, and they'd never experienced those things before.
No.
And yeah, you take them once, and it really opens their eyes. But it's a shame they don't. Yeah, you're right. They
No.
just stay right within their little neighborhoods.
No, and one maybe you went here. Did you ever go to Huntington, the
Hmm.
library? Oh, well, there was a class trip, and normally subs don't go on class trips, but this is another school where they liked me, so the administrator, she's like, "Hey, you want to?" I'm like, "I would love to go. I want to go see Chaucer," and she's like, "All right." And this is hilarious. I'll tell you this story. So there was like 18 kids or something because there was three of us, three adults, and there was 18, right? So when we get there, the one main woman says, all right, we're to each have 3 kids. Do not let them out of your sight. And I'm like, the Huntington, I mean, it's awesome, right? It's got, you could go to,
Awesome.
there's like
Yeah.
gardens,
Yeah.
Japanese gardens. So I said, okay. So we all split up. I said, kids, come here. And they were all seniors. They'd never been there. They were like, oh
Um,
my God, I said, oh yeah, this was like somebody's home, palatial thing. And I
yeah.
said, here's what we're going to do. Because I had to get back in 2 hours. He's like, 2 hours, let's come back and meet at this spot. So I said, kids, here's what we're going to do. 2 hours. I'm going to let you do whatever you want. I'm going to treat you like an adult. I said, do not let me get in trouble here. Don't go blowing things up and don't go starting a fire. Don't do something crazy. I said, but just explore on your own, maybe one or two. I said, but just kind of take it all in and really take a look around. This was like a different world than they've never seen it, right? And oh, they loved it. And occasionally I would like pass them by and they're like, oh, they were like the happiest kids. Now I got in trouble because when I got back, of course they weren't back in 2 hours. They're like, "Where are your kids?" I'm like, "Well, they'll be here any minute now." She's like, "Mr. T, you let him." I'm like, "Listen, this is my way." And they talked about me like he's the coolest guy. It's like, what
Yeah.
are they gonna do, Huntington? It's like, where are you gonna get lost? It was awesome.
Yeah, and you definitely have to with your students. You have to give some trust in
Right,
order for them to give it back to you, and to give them an opportunity to be successful, to be responsible.
right,
Because every time they have a successful moment like that, and you can praise them for it, they take another step toward
right,
that kind of doing the right thing, being more
right.
responsible.
Right. And evolving to me, it was evolving their soul as their character. Like, they
Mhm,
successfully did, they didn't, nobody got in trouble. So it was like, and I said to them, I said, listen, look at this success. Like we let them go on their own.
mhm,
I did that one other time at USC. So they kind of talked good about me. And then the same school took a trip to USC, which is another cool, let's take them. And there was like some event going on where, a lot of these colleges were putting out like a show. And then I just said, hey, you're on your own. I said, and there were like different classrooms you could sit in on. And I said, different. I mean, most of the kids I taught didn't go to college, but I said, hey, kids, you're on your own. You don't need me to hold your hand, pop into this thing, but be productive. Said, I
mhm,
want to know that you know something about another college because all the colleges. So that was another, like, to me, they were like, yeah, I call them small victories in the war. Whereas,
mm.
like, this kid evolved and he, like, I had confidence and I trusted him, as you said. And they're like, yeah, he's a cool guy. Because again, all I wanted was the next day to have no trouble in my class. It's like, right,
Yeah, and on a micro scale, I talk a lot about in good classroom management and good teachers, they lead students from one success to the next success to the next success because it builds self-worth and confidence. And kids, it's human nature. We're addicted. Once we experience that
right,
success, we want more of it.
right.
And so, yeah, sometimes it does take a little bit of a leap of faith, a little bit of, I'm going to give you
Yeah,
this, I'm going to
right.
trust you and
Give you a
I
lot of
believe
rope.
in you. I believe you can do it. And then
Right.
when they do, that's a great victory.
Yeah, it is a great victory for them and all. So you're the smart classroom management is definitely helping out a lot of people, right? And what's the next step for you? Do you keep writing books, or you love what you're doing? Are you doing more one-on-ones? I mean, where do you because I think every teacher needs to get the knowledge that you're providing.
Yeah, the last maybe 3 or 4 years been focusing a lot more on video.
Hmm.
People are reading less for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I've been working on just sort of teaching the strategies,
Right.
and simplify them and get better at doing video. So
Right.
that's really my focus. Yeah.
Yeah, you look like a young guy though. So you're like you taught for 33 years. What do you look like you're like 38 years old. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, it's the yeah, exercise works. I'll say that.
Drinking from the fountain of youth, huh?
Yeah, I
That's
guess so.
an yeah. You work out every day. You look like I wrote a book on how to drink from the fountain of youth because
Ah, okay.
I'm 62.
Wow, you look great too.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm 2 years behind you.
No
60.
kidding.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, exercises. That's it, man.
The
That's it.
key.
Every single day, exercise and 30 minutes in the sauna really
You do
helps.
30 minutes in the sauna
30
every day.
minutes,
No
six
way.
days, 6 days a week.
6
Yeah.
days a week. Wow. I just signed up. There's this place here where you go and there's a private room, you get a sauna and a cold plunge. Is
Oh yeah.
yeah, I just signed up. I'm going Sunday morning. I'm like, let me try this out. They want you to lock in for the monthly thing. I'm like, well, let's try once. Because I used to go to this in New Jersey. They had these Russian baths
Hmm.
but it was just like, a million people, these mostly Russian guys. And you would go from one room to the next room and then you would jump in the pool. But it was everybody had swimming trunks on. It wasn't like, yeah, it wasn't my thing. But here it's just your private room. And I'm like, wow. So I'm in Indianapolis now. And they said, oh, we're going to put one downtown Indy. I said, oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
So
really
where are
cool.
you in LA or where are you
I'm in,
located?
I'm in San Diego.
Oh, I
Yeah.
spent a summer in La Jolla to
Mm,
me, heaven. Yeah, the
it is.
La Jolla Town Center. I stayed up there, and then oh my God, they built a couple of glass towers there that I was almost this close to staying, and I had to go back east take care of my parents. But so you're in like downtown San Diego or Mission Beach or
No, I am UTC
oh
area, which
yeah,
is just adjacent to La Jolla.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's where the
beautiful, beautiful
golf
area.
course is. Uh,
Torrey Pines, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So from here, I have kind of a view out west, and when the pro pro tournament, golf tournament
Right.
comes, I can see what do you call it? The hang
Yeah,
gliders and
yeah.
stuff out there, which is pretty cool.
Wow. Solana Beach. You ever go? I got a buddy who
Oh
lives.
yeah,
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful town.
Yeah, I spent about 15 years in LA, but I'll tell you,
Um,
if I had to do it again, San Diego. I was at WeWork at San Diego. I did. When I was at La
okay,
Jolla, I went to that WeWork over there. And to me, that's like you got the best place, right? You got the best weather. Yeah.
nice. Yeah,
You're lucky, man. All right, 60-year-old drinking. Well, I mean, thanks for coming on, man. This was awesome. I really appreciate you. And I think anybody out there who's a teacher, you guys look them up. Michael Linsin, smartclassroommanagement.com. A lot of great resources, but the key is knowledge. And
yep, that's
so
it.
don't get despaired, right? If you're a teacher, don't despair. Hang in there. What are
Yeah,
your
there's
last words for them? Yeah.
yeah, just that it's possible. Even though it seems overwhelming,
Mm,
it is possible that there are strategies that work predictably with students, no matter how bad the situation seems.
right. Hang in there.
Okay.
All right, Michael. Thanks again. I'm gonna have you check out, and then I'm gonna say a few words to finish it up. But I'll be in
Okay,
touch
Rich.
again. Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you.
All
Yeah.
right,
Thanks very much.
you got it.
Bye bye.
You got it. Thanks. Yeah. So he's checking out, and then I'll finish up with you guys. Yep. Yeah, got the eyesight like me. So that was great, guys. Did you see that? Michael Linson, look him up. Smart Classroom Management, because, like I said, with the sub, oh my God, we definitely need the knowledge going in and just little tricks of the trade. Really, really appreciate Michael coming on. That was really fun. And so, guys, check it out. So, I'm a big volleyball fan, and there's 3 games today, 3 games tomorrow, 3 games Sunday. Big game tomorrow. I can't wait for Indiana U is playing Nebraska, number 1. I think Indiana's number 17, not sure, but there's a lot of great games on. If you guys are into that, I am. And I don't know. I don't think I'll be watching any movies. So that's kind of it for me today. Great long show today. So, hey, for everybody out there, you saw 2 guys in their 60s looking like we drink from the fountain of youth. So, what's the key? Exercise, exercise, exercise on a daily basis. All right, guys, have a great day and get your workout in. Peace.